studios of the Metro News Radio Network in Morgantown, this is West Virginia's premier sports talk show.
From Weirton to Welch, Martinsburg to Matewan, and all points in between, this is the Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Northside Automotive, Route 19 in Summersville. We'll beat the advertised price of any other dealer in the state, guaranteed. Now here's your host, Tony Caridi.
Hey, how about that? Welcome in, everybody. Ready to go here. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline. It is Wednesday night already, 9th day of December. So what's that mean? What's that mean? Man? That means like, 16 days, right?
There you go.
16 days till Christmas. How's my math skills there? Pretty good, huh? Yeah, so that's what we got going. Christmas quickly approaching. Hope everyone's doing well. Don't stress out over it. It's going to come again next year. So don't worry about it. All right, coming up on the show here tonight, a lot to jump into. We go football, basketball. We'll bounce around. And Coach Hunter's in the studio with us here this evening, as you probably just heard. First off, football news. ESPN's Brett McMurphy reporting in the last 90 minutes, according to a source telling ESPN, Dana Holgorsen will return to West Virginia next season as the head coach. McMurphy then followed up that tweet with a 3-paragraph story, 4 sentences in all, saying this: Dana Holgorsen will return to West Virginia next season, as sources told ESPN. There was speculation Holgorsen, who was in his 5th season at WVU, would not be retained after finishing 7-5 this season. Under Holgorsen, the Mountaineers are 35-28. They will play Arizona State in the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl on January the 2nd. So that is the report that's coming out of ESPN's Brett McMurphy. He is well respected, so you can, I'd say, probably high 95 percentile take that to the bank. He doesn't go with it unless it's as good as it can be.
Somebody's telling him this
from right.
That he's not just picking this up from third-party people.
Nothing yet from WVU, but I do expect WVU to make a statement in regard to what ESPN's McMurphy reported earlier today. Don't necessarily think it's going to be a release, but probably you are going to get some form of a statement by WVU. I don't know if that comes while we're still on the air. I don't know if that comes in the next 5-6 hours, if it comes tomorrow, but I do expect that you will get a statement of some sort from WVU. So why has it become as sticky of a story as it is? Well, here's the reality of it. That, as everyone has known, the contract does have 2 years remaining on it after this season is complete. But there have been a couple of reports, one from Mitch Vingle of the Charleston Gazette that got picked up by the Washington Post, which made it a bigger story than just a West Virginia story. And if you've checked your calendar, not only is Christmas coming, but so is recruiting. And, Greg, I think that for something not to be said, as they have now here within the last 24 hours since the Washington Post went with it, that your recruiting class was going to become more and more fragile by the moment unless somebody said something.
And it was quickly. In talking to recruits and parents of recruits, the fact that they were dangling and uncertain what was happening left a lot of those kids wondering what they ultimately would do. So whatever West Virginia University officials were going to do, and Shane Lyons and Gordon Gee being the officials making the decision, if they were going to bring him back, it was imperative that they made this statement quickly and got out ahead of this story before it just festered and just killed your recruiting class. Again, if you weren't going to retain him, fine, your recruiting class probably goes bust. But if you're going to keep him and also blow up your recruiting class, that does a disservice to everybody. So if you're going to keep him, make the statement, get it over with, keep your recruiting class relatively intact and move forward.
Any losses, anything hot, new?
Nothing. No,
okay.
Nothing. There were a couple kids, and every year there are going to be a couple kids that are going to flip, even if no matter who it is. If you got Nick Saban as your head coach, that happens. But nobody of imminent peril at this point in time. Though again, there were some kids out there that were wondering what was happening, and we're starting to listen to other opportunities and others offers out there. At this point, I don't know of any of those that have had a change of heart. It appears, now this news is so, fresh. I don't think you can get a gauge right where it was, but I could have guaranteed you there were a lot of those, if this had lasted another week or so, would have started to take visits elsewhere.
So that's the deal. And at this point, it's one person's report, Brett McMurphy, but he's extremely good. He's not, he's not just a guy that's trying to throw something up against the wall to see that if it sticks. And again, if WVU has anything as far as a statement that comes out here within the show, we'll get it on there. If not, it'll be on the website at wvmetronews.com. We'll talk more Mountaineer football / Arizona State. Later in the show, we'll go out to Arizona, and we'll talk with Chris Karpman, who's the publisher of SunDevilSource.com. We'll get his take on this matchup between the Sun Devils and the Mountaineers. Hunter, by the way, has booked his tickets to the bowl game, and because he is a very frugal ticket shopper, he's only paying like $8,000 for each ticket.
It isn't a cheap ticket. I got in mid-level at $700 for the flight.
Yeah.
Those flights now are in the 1,000 range. This is out of Pittsburgh. I haven't checked Charleston
Amazing,
lately.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was, what, 600 last week?
Well, actually, it was about 5. The lowest level I saw when I first looked was like 505. By the time I started to get serious, it was 545. Within a day, it was 650. And by the time I booked it, it was 7. And then, boom, it jumped after that. And the problem is not just Mountaineer fans, and certainly there are going to be some that are going to go out. We know it's not going to be a huge number. But, of course, Ohio State, Notre Dame fans also making the same trip. The Fiesta Bowl they're playing in the day before.
Yeah.
So
someone asked me if I wanted to go to that game.
Really? And you said
I will.
no?
I think I will.
Well, you get an extra ticket.
I think I will.
You throw it my way.
Coach Hunter, I'd like to sit with you at a football game.
I would love to.
In the stands. Like not working, just sitting in the stands like watching a game.
Watch it.
Just rooting like all heck against Notre Dame.
Absolutely. But my roots won't allow me to root for Ohio State either, so you can root against both clubs.
Root for the band.
Yeah,
right.
There you go.
All right, so that's going on. We'll talk Arizona State's Chris Karpman coming up a little bit later on. Obviously, the Mountaineers played a basketball game last night. Well, they played 15 minutes of a basketball game. 40-minute game, they played 15. And we will get into that. The bad thing, the bad thing is obviously is that they not only lost, but they looked bad, right, for the last 25 minutes of the game. Looked great for the first 15 minutes of the game, right? So you hate to lose. It happened for the second straight season that they were 7-0 and they get beat by a Power 5 team in their 8th game. And Virginia's very good. They really, truly are a good team. But West Virginia certainly did not put its A game out there, and you get beat by 16 points. I'll jump into that here in just a little bit. Big-time congratulations going out to the Metro News High School Football Player of the Year, based on a vote from broadcasters across the state and sports writers. The honor today announced Point Pleasant running back Cody Mitchell is the Metro News High School Player of the Year. He had zany, crazy statistics. 2,332 rushing yards on 178 carries. Quick, do the math. I'll do it for you. That's 13 yards per carry. Wow. He averaged a first down and a third every time he carried the football. Hello. He scored 42 touchdowns rushing. He also caught 15 passes for 213 yards and 4 more touchdowns. And, oh, by the way, he also threw for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns and returned 5 punts for touchdowns. He's like Jim Thorpe.
That's
right?
a heck of a year.
Oh, he threw touchdowns. He caught touchdowns. He ran for touchdowns. He ran punts for touchdowns. He also punted, by the way.
Why not?
A 40-yard average. It's pretty doggone good in high school. And he had 95 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 5 interceptions. He just as they say in today's parlance, he just a baller. Yeah.
He is very good.
3,249 of over 6,500 all-purpose yards, and he had 51 touchdowns.
51.
51. That's 5 a game, right? 10-game season.
Wow.
Plus your playoffs.
Yeah.
Capitals quarterback Tyree Pratt finished just behind Mitchell in the balloting. Wheeling Park standouts, Elijah Bell and Savion Johnson, finished 3rd and 4th. Bridgeport had 2, finished 5th and 6th. Dante Bonamico and Dylan Tonkery. Check out the complete deal at the WVMetroNews.com website.
What's it say about our age when we know the parents of these kids and have seen them play? Savion Johnson with Boogie and obviously Daryl Mitchell.
Yeah, it's getting old, man. It's getting old. Probably ready to go out to a farm somewhere.
Genetics help, though. Their dads were awfully good, right?
That was absolutely right. No question about that. All right, so when we come back, I'm jumping into Mountaineer basketball. Plus, the Big 12 Conference announced its award winners for this past season. Several Mountaineers gaining mention. We'll get into that and more. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
Someday, we'll go to the edge of the galaxy. But for now, you can go to the ends of the earth in a Jeep brand SUV. Find your adventure in the Jeep Grand Cherokee, the most awarded SUV ever. Catch a show of shooting stars underneath the night sky in the Jeep Cherokee, the 2015 four-wheeler of the year. And go far, far away in the Jeep Renegade with up to 31 mpg highway. Hurry into the Jeep year-end blockbuster sales event. Going on now.
Star Wars The Force Awakens, December 18th, rated PG-13.
Purchase and get 0% APR financing for 75 months or $3,500 total cash allowance on the 2015 Jeep Cherokee Limited 4x4. EPA estimate 1.4-liter engine with manual transmission. 0% APR financing for 75 months equals $1,333 per month per $1,000 finance for well-qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital regardless of down payment. Residency restrictions apply. Take retail delivery by 1/4/16. Jeep is a registered trademark of FCA US LLC.
You know who taught me to use a hands-free device while driving? My mom. She scared me to death all through school with that phone up to her ear, driving us back and forth. Now that I'm on the road solo, I tell my mom, I'm worried about you. Go hands-free with the phone when you're driving. I do. It's important to set a good example for parents, so when she rides with me, I turn it off, put it down, and just drive.
The West Virginia Department of Transportation, saving one life at a time.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
Statewide Sportsline. What are you doing this weekend? It's supposed to be really nice. I mean, it's supposed to be like really, really nice, right? This weekend? I got something for you here in wild, wonderful West Virginia, whether you're superstitious or not. How about this? The Cockaigne Farmhouse in Moundsville is going to be open for its holiday celebration this weekend, December 12 through 12, 13, and 14, 12th through the 14th. The tour will feature period Christmas decorations and traditional cookies. So how was it when you decorated for Christmas in 1860, 1890, 1925, and so on? Don't miss this interactive, family-friendly, and tasty event. Now, the cookies were not made in 1860. They'll be replica recipe cookies from back then. Check it out. Real celebrations. You'll find it here in wild, wonderful West Virginia. Again, that is the Cockaigne Farmhouse in Moundsville, December 12, 13, and 14. We welcome you back into the show. So, last night, Mountaineers at the Garden in New York. Much anticipated game, I think, by a lot of basketball fans, not only Mountaineer fans, but I think Virginia fans also wanted to see what was underneath the hood of their team. They were nationally ranked preseason. It's a Virginia team that's won 30 games in each of the last two seasons. They've won 16 games in their league in the ACC in each of the last two seasons. Yeah, they did lose some, but they still are expected to be a top 10 team this season. And for West Virginia, we all know, well documented, what they were able to do to start this season, picking up where they were from last season after going to the Sweet 16. So it's quite an event for those that were there, Mountaineer fans that were there last night. You got the feel and you got the take of what it is to be in that Jimmy V. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. People are out. I mean, the Garden's never looked any better than it does with the renovations, and it's a big event. So West Virginia goes out there and imposes its will on Virginia. And all of the early precincts that were reporting, all of the early precincts that were coming in pointed to West Virginia winning this game. This is a Virginia team that was averaging 7 turnovers per game, just a hair over, 7 turnovers per game. West Virginia has them with double figures in turnovers before the first half was over. West Virginia was getting more shots as they need to at the basket. And to be quite honest with you, Virginia was just kind of, whoa, what's going on here? Mountaineers are scoring. And then everything went and fell into the crapper. With about 5 minutes to go in the opening half, Virginia got its sea legs, as you say, and balanced itself and continued to kind of work and work and work. And they were making shots, right? They were making shots. And specifically, Anthony Gill was making shots. Double figures in the first half. He ends the game with 20. He finishes 9 of 11 from the field. And by the half, it was 6. And you say, okay, well, I'll be honest. I'll tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking, you know what? I'm glad Virginia made a run at the end of the first half because now Hugs can get in the locker room and say, hey, yo, this thing's far from being over. Because I think if you went up in the locker room like 14 or 16, you'd think it was over. Then they were going to make that run. Then there's no way you can kind of get them ready to hold it. So I'm thinking, okay, you gave up some of the points. You gave up half your lead, but it'll be okay. Well, it wasn't. And it wasn't for several different reasons. Firstly, West Virginia just shot the ball horrifically in the second half. They took 10 less shots at the basket, and they made 8 less shots than they did in the first half. They made 6 baskets in 20 minutes. 6 baskets in 20 minutes. This is from a team that I would think at times this season has made 3 baskets in a minute.
Yeah.
Right? Easily. 3 baskets in a minute.
Sure.
Meanwhile, from the perimeter, you might as well have kicked it and tried to score it. Like just drop kicked it. 0 for 7 from 3 in the second half after making 6 of 20 in the first half. So that 20 tells you something. I'm sorry, let me go back. They made 2 of 7 from 3 in the first half, but 0 of 7 in the second half. So what happened? Well, here's the most amazing statistic. Points off of turnovers. First half, West Virginia had a lead. I think it was like 13-2, 13-3.
Something in that
points
range,
off
yeah.
turnovers. The game ends. Virginia, non-pressing Virginia outscores West Virginia off of turnovers 19-15. They scored 10 more points in the paint. And that was all. So I talked to Hugs afterward. What happened? Well, they spread the heck out of the floor, and they pass it really well. So while they may have hiccuped and burped in the first half, once they got themselves right, they spread the floor and they passed it well. And, oh yeah, West Virginia's defense just went absolutely to sleep. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I really don't know what it was. But they did not defend. Virginia shoots 74% in the second half, 60% from 3. Meanwhile, West Virginia, its 2 starting guards went 2 for 17. 2 for 17. You got a situation. So we knew this team had some warts, and they weren't going to be seen, right? They weren't going to be seen until you started to play teams that you're normally going to start to see in your league. And we haven't been seeing those kind of teams. So you can hide, right? You can hide some of that stuff. Makeup does a lot of things. You can hide things with makeup, all right? So where are we at here? John Rothstein, big college basketball guy, CBS Sports, he was there last night. And he wrote something. I'm not going to pretend that it's my idea, so I'm not going to say, hey, let me tell you what they really need. So this is what John Rothstein wrote today. He says, the Mountaineers have depth, experience, and the type of toughness that most coaches would salivate for. We'd all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
This is a deep team. This is I don't experience. I don't fully buy that. I'll tell you why. And the type of toughness, yes, that most coaches would salivate for. But they don't possess a go-to scorer like they did last year with Juwan State. During the second half of Tuesday's loss to Virginia, West Virginia's offense stymied by a combination of the Cavaliers' vaunted half-court defense and their own lack of ability to find someone to get them a basket when they needed one. Devin Williams has made a massive jump from last season to this one on the interior, but he's more of a rugged presence that does dirty work on the offensive glass rather than someone you just throw the ball to when you need a basket. Can either Daxter Miles, Javon Carter, or Tariq Phillip emerge for this team as someone who goes and scores the ball when the Mountaineers need a quick deuce? That's the $1 million question right now in Morgantown. Here's why I say I question the experience thing. And again, it's never as good as you think, and it's never as bad as you think. It's always somewhere in the middle. Totally agree with that. So you look at it and you say to yourself last night, Javon Carter, is he really experienced? Is he really experienced? Not
Sophomore.
a junior.
Mm-hmm.
He's a young sophomore.
Yep.
Miles, young sophomore. Williams, experienced, yes, junior. Jonathan Holton, physically, age-wise, yes. Second season at West Virginia. Issa Ahmad, no. Jay Sean Page, second season at WVU. Tariq Phillips, second season at WVU. Elijah, right? Second season. Nate Adrian, experienced? Yes. Played a lot of games. That was his 76th game at WVU. Tavon Myers, no. Brandon Watkins, no. Richard Romeo. So
you had two guys with more than a year and 6, 7, 8 games.
Yeah. Point is, this is not to make excuses, but Anthony Gill for Virginia last night scored 20. Senior. Malcolm Brogdon, going to be an NBA draft pick, late first, early second round, according to the people that I talked to. Senior. How many times have we said you've got to have pros on your team? So Rothstein's exactly right. So the question now is, you're going to get more games like that last night than you are for the rest of the season. Now you'll get Louisiana Monroe, and you'll get some of those teams, Eastern Kentucky, that you'll be able to tweak their nose and give them a Benny Hill on top of their head and say, nice job, come on back. But you're going to get more Virginia here, January, February, and into March than you're going to get Eastern Kentucky.
Sure.
So somebody on this team, and that's the concern, I don't know if that somebody is on that team. There's no swing guy right now. It's too early for Issa Ahmad. And I don't think a couple of those other guys at this point just get it of how hard you have to work to be the guy. All the really good players that be the guy, they put in a ton of work. I've never seen anyone be the guy that doesn't do an incredible amount of work in preparing himself to take that role on. Right?
Yeah. Deshaun, Kevin Jones.
Joe Alexander.
Yeah.
Juwan Staten.
Mm-hmm.
He worked a ton. He made himself a lot better, right?
Yeah.
From his sophomore to his junior to his junior to his senior, right? So that's the deal, man. And that's the scary thought. They'll be back. I mean, again, it's in the middle. They'll play better defense and things like that, but someone's got to be the big milk cow, man.
So you don't think that they're on the roster, or you're not convinced they're there yet? I mean, Carter, Miles, every once in a while they'll show you a streak, but
yeah, you can't have streaky players.
No.
Great players aren't streaky. That's why they're great players, because every night you know what you're going to get. Great players are consistent. Right? Deshaun Butler, mark it down. From his sophomore year on, first year he was asked to pass it. Second, third, fourth year, hey, we need you to score. He scored. We don't have that guy right now. So, and plus Javon Carter's still trying to make that transition from playing off of the ball and getting his shot to running the offense and getting his shot. It's a transition. So, still evolving. Hopefully it'll happen quicker than not. All right, stay with us. When we come back, West Virginia and Arizona State inside the famed Cactus Bowl. We'll talk. We'll go out to Arizona and we'll talk about that. Do stay with us. Joining us from SunDevilSource.com, Chris Karpman. When we return, Northside Automotive, Statewide Sportsline.
All Medicare eligible individuals. It's time for open enrollment. Take advantage of the health plan's Medicare plans with benefits such as Silver Sneakers gym membership, an extensive list of doctors and hospitals. Contact us 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week at 1-877-847-7915. or visit healthplan.org/Medicare. This information is not a complete description of benefits. Contact the plan for more information. Limitations, copayments, and restrictions may apply. Benefits and/or copayments, coinsurance may change on January 1 of each year.
As a cyclist, we make choices. We choose which motorcycle manufacturer to buy from. We choose what type of motorcycle we ride. We even choose where and when to ride. We also choose to ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Alcohol is involved in 50% of motorcycle fatalities in West Virginia. That's 1 in 2 drivers who die each year. Don't become a statistic. Ride straight, alcohol and drug-free. Presented by the West Virginia Department of Transportation, Governor's Highway Safety and Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Program.
Hi, it's Tony Caridi. If you're in a business or organization that needs visual help, then let's get together and talk. For more than a decade now, those of us at Pikewood Creative have embraced the opportunity to help people just like you tell their story visually. Whether it's a video, commercial, animation, or motion graphics piece, we produce content that make others take notice. We help people increase their business and organizations better tell their story. If you need help, then contact us at pikewoodcreative.com.
The Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes. On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline coming up in just a little bit. I'll give you the Big 12 Players of the Year, Coach of the Year, what Mountaineer players received recognition. That's coming up just a little bit. Delighted to head out right now to Phoenix, Arizona, SunDevilSource.com's Chris Karpman joins us. Chris, good evening to you. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Oh, my pleasure being with you.
Give us the take, man, in trying to figure out Arizona State here as we start to break them down, and you see some wows and then you see some oohs, and you kind of shake your head and go, what are these guys all about? So for a guy that's watched them from back in August getting ready to play a season, then playing the season, what's West Virginia got its hands on here?
It's hard to say in any given game, to be honest with you. There were expectations through the roof, really, for the program going into the season. ASU coach Todd Graham called it the best team he's coached. They got off to a really slow start offensively, had some personnel troubles, weren't really in sync with their senior quarterback, Mike Bercovici, and the pass-catching options on the field. And then as the offense started to really get together in the second half of the season, get healthier, get guys more into the flow of things, their defense kind of fell apart. It's a very blitz-heavy, aggressive pressure style defense. And so when that's the case, you need to do a really great job of being assignment sound and being excellent coverage on the back end. And ASU really wasn't. Also, they had a couple injuries there that affected the team. But really, they just could never get their offense and defense both in sync. And then they lost 4 games in the second half of the season in which they had a lead in the fourth quarter. In the past, they've won all the close games for the most part, back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time since the early 70s. And this year it was really the opposite.
Chris, in looking at some of the statistics, they've given up big passing yards, which you alluded to, but in that league, I guess a lot of people probably would. But they've been really good against the run, at least statistically. West Virginia's become a run-oriented team. That matchup is going to be important. Have they been as good as their stats say against the run? That's
definitely the strength of the whole team, I would say. and they bring so much pressure that they're able to kind of plug those interior gaps. A lot of overloads from where teams tend to run the ball based on formation tendencies to anticipate it. So it's really as much of a run blitz as it is just getting after the quarterback on third and long. So that's kind of their whole philosophy, is to try to take away a team's rushing capability, make them more one-dimensional, make them beat them with the pass, and then try to unsettle the quarterback. So they are really good against the run. Certainly it's the strength of their group. They have two senior defensive tackles and a junior defensive tackle. And the sophomore was really good. Those guys kind of they're unheralded, I should say. And then they have a couple good ends. Antonio Longino is a double backer. It's like a hybrid position, a rush end, outside linebacker. But he led the league in tackles for loss and sacks, and a lot of his success comes against the run as well.
Chris Cartman, publisher of SunDevilSource.com, joins us. West Virginia, Arizona State, of course, coming up on the 2nd of January. Chris, how is this bowl game being accepted by Arizona State fans? It's kind of an oddity in that it's so close to campus. People embrace this thing, or is it just kind of a shoulder shrugger?
Well, I think in light of the fact that ASU went 6-6 and its other options were going to be probably going to Dallas, going to Shreveport, something like that, against a lackluster type of an opponent as it would have been perceived, people would probably rather stay home. Those games were like, a lot of them were December 26th or something of that nature. It makes it hard for fans. This is a lot easier. And ASU's been in this bowl once before in Chase Field under a different moniker, but it was a positive experience. ASU beat Rutgers in 2005. So I think fans are kind of they're happy. Of course, it didn't really matter what bowl they were going to be in. The season's been a disappointment.
What's the popularity index on Todd Graham right now? He's had an interesting background in these parts east of the Mississippi, and there are certain perceptions that linger. What's the crowd and fan reacts to him at this point?
Well, people were drinking the Todd Graham Kool-Aid like I've never seen before prior to this season. Really unprecedented success in his first 3 years with those back-to-back 10-win seasons. He's the first ASU coach now to ever go to a bowl game in his first 4 years. But on the flip side to that, there's been a little disappointment this year because he sold the team so resolutely, and it just hasn't materialized. There's concerns about whether or not he had a really good feel for the team or whether he was overhyping it. Either one of those things is potentially concerning. People grew a little bit frustrated with offensive coordinator Mike Norvell, who, as you guys probably know, is now taking the head coaching job at Memphis, and also with Graham's ultra-aggressive nature on defense, even when that hasn't worked and it's been giving up a lot of big plays. So there are some fans out there who have concerns for the first time about things that maybe they feel like are non-strengths of Graham.
Keith Patterson, of course, was at West Virginia, then went to Arizona State. Is it Keith Patterson's defense, or is he just simply the de facto by name guy, and it's still a Todd Graham defense?
Well, Todd Graham has ceded more responsibility to Patterson this year, and these guys are extremely close. They were college roommates, so they go back to their beginning of college, of their football careers, really. So what's happened this year is Graham's given more of the game planning and preparation responsibilities to Patterson. Graham's still been the majority play caller by far, overwhelmingly, and I don't think Graham's going to give that up. But Patterson has been very involved, and they have a very good working dynamic between them.
Interestingly, as you said, Graham was at West Virginia. Keith Patterson was at West Virginia. There haven't been media opportunities here at WVU yet, so I don't know if you had a chance to talk to either of them. But have they ever reflected back on their past at West Virginia when you talked to them previously?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Pretty regularly, in fact. They mention just kind of cutting their teeth a little bit more, learning more about the profession at that level, and a passionate fan base at West Virginia, some of the rivalry, the backyard brawl, and things of that nature. There's been a lot of stories that have been shared to media out here about those experiences, and Keith Patterson in particular talks very fondly about his years at the school.
Chris Karpman is our guest publisher of SunDevilSource.com. So how do you beat Arizona State? If you were the opposing coach, how do you beat this team?
Whenever teams have done a really good job of protecting their quarterback and getting the ball out quickly, I think the whole key is having a quarterback who understands that you're going to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities and situations where you're going to have advantages. And if you can get the ball out while protecting, max protecting, keeping 6-7 blockers in, identifying who you need to throw the ball to, you're going to have some really big play capability against ASU. I think they're as prone to any team in the country, really, given how man dominant they play in the secondary and some of their issues and injuries. Both of their starting safeties at the beginning of the season are now out for the season. So I think that's kind of the way. You're not going to have a lot of success really trying to just pound the ball inside. And that's going to have to be more of a just kind of mix it up type of an approach. And then on the flip side, I think you have to try to take away ASU's run game as much as you can. They have two running backs who are really talented, Demario Richard and Kalen Balaj. They're sophomores. Whenever ASU has gotten into a good rhythm with its ground game and or its run replacements, it's really opened up the offense quite substantially. And I envision that would be the case against West Virginia. So really, it comes down to winning the line of scrimmage against ASU's offensive line, which is senior-heavy, 4 seniors, really kind of underachieved for the most part this season relative to expectations, and then taking advantage of the one-on-one matchups in ASU secondary.
Chris, Tony asked you earlier about how the fans are receiving this bowl game. What about the players? The bowl is often, a nice trip for players, little vacation with a game involved as well. Obviously, I don't even know if they probably go to a hotel or a resort like everybody else. They may just stay in their dorms in their apartments. I mean, how do the players do it? Are they just going to spend the time on campus?
Yeah, I think they'll be on campus for the most part. And I think a couple ASU players expressed some minor frustration on social media. They do like the opportunity to go away and get the full bowl experiences. They had a lot of fun last year, even though they were in El Paso, which really isn't considered to be the most exciting of destinations, but they really liked it. I think they probably will go to a hotel just for the night before the game. But I would say lukewarm is maybe the way that they perceive this bowl. Of course, I don't know that they would have been extremely excited about the other opportunities either, though.
Great insight, Chris. We really appreciate your time. We look forward to chatting with you as we head toward this bowl game.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. Thanks very much. And, folks, you can check out Chris's work, SunDevilSource.com. That's SunDevilSource.com. 649 Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline. Neil Walker has been traded by the Pittsburgh Pirates to the New York Mets. What's that about, Hunter? We turn it over to our baseball trading zone deadline.
Yeah, I traded him to the Mets for Jonathan Neese, pitcher, not too far from Pittsburgh. Grew up in Lima, Ohio. 7-year pro, been in the rotation for the Mets for the past 6 seasons. 3.91 ERA. But, again, hometown boy in Neil Walker.
That's a bum
getting
out.
sent away. Now, again, contract situation. He's going to be in the last year of his contract. Pirates probably don't want to, or obviously aren't going to spend the free agency money to keep him. Good second baseman, hits well, but not superstar status, and do you have to give him superstar money? So whatever you think, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of Pirate fans who aren't real happy to see one of the team's favorites heading out of town.
Big 12 honors in football when we return. Stay with us. Northside Automotive Statewide Sportsline.
West Virginia has balanced its budget on the back of the coal industry ever since we became a state 150 years ago. Historically, the coal industry and coal-fired electric utilities have accounted for over 60% of all business taxes, while high-energy wages contribute a disproportionate share of income taxes, and coal severance dollars sustain important programs in all counties. All told, the industry infuses over $26 billion to our state's economy. coal alone has paid down nearly $1 billion of the state's workers' compensation debt. Consequently, all state businesses have experienced major reductions in workers' comp benefits. The coal industry has always supported our people and our economy, but it's under attack from the Obama administration and the EPA. It's fighting to survive. Coal taxes in West Virginia are higher than our surrounding states. We're losing coal markets to our neighbors. Let's get our mines and coal miners working again. Support a reduced tax rate for mining, paid for by West Virginia Coal Association.
The Northside Automotive statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
On Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
This fall, not all blockbusters are movies. The Jeep Black Friday Blockbuster Sales Event. It's the must-see event of the year. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Grand Cherokee Laredo for $279 a month.
When something is missing from the picture, it doesn't make sense. Without the right people, your work site is just a site. Your office is just a space. Let's Train West Virginia has grant funding for on-the-job training in today's in-demand careers. Workers learn while they earn, and companies can be reimbursed up to $10,000 per eligible new hire. So qualified employees and satisfied employers complete the picture. Learn more at letstrainwv.com.
All right, once again, a reminder, coming up this weekend, December 12th through the 14th, it is the Cockaigne Farmhouse in Moundsville. It's open for the holiday season celebration. Tour features Christmas decorations, traditional cookies, 1860, 1890, 1925. How did they used to do it? Remember like the old icicles? Remember like the old icicles and the big fat lights that got really hot there on your tree? Then you take the icicle and you'd put it over the light and let it melt on there? Those are decorations.
Good old days.
Oh, what the heck with this LED stuff. All right, Big 12 today announcing its honors. Bob Stoops, Coach of the Year. No disagreement.
No, definitely not.
His team took a bump against Texas, and then they rolled. Offensive Player of the Year. Baker Mayfield, the walk-on quarterback from Texas Tech who now plays in Norman, who's from Austin. There you go. He's your offensive.
Any argument with that?
No. I think he makes plays. I voted him for the Heisman. I'm not supposed to say that, but I did. I voted him third for the Heisman.
Boykin had been healthy all year. He'd have had an argument, but the way it ended.
Yep, agreed. What else we got here? The co-defensive players of the year, Andrew Billings and Emmanuel Agba.
No argument. I'd like to see Stryker. He also could have been in the mix, but other than that, yeah, those are the guys, right?
Yes. Yeah, problem players. West Virginia does not put anyone on offense on the first team. Defensively, West Virginia puts 2 players. Nick Kwiatkowski, happy for him. Darryl Worley. Worley had a slow start to the season, then really turned it on.
Yeah,
and
great down the stretch.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And West Virginia has the first team punter. Boom, stash. Nick O'Toole, first team punter. Second team, Wendell Smallwood, Tyler Orlowski. on offense. Defensively, K.J. Dillon. Good for him. Right?
Absolutely.
Stuck in there the whole time. Here's your second. This is a pretty good offensive league when you go this way. Second team, quarterback, Trayvon Boykin. Running back, Shock Linwood, Wendell Smallwood. Wide receivers, Katie Cannon from Baylor, James Washington from Oklahoma State, Jakeem Grant from Texas Tech. Pretty doggone good.
Wendell have an argument to move up the first team. I mean, our bias, Samarja P. Ryan, no-brainer. DeAndre Washington from Texas Tech, who ended up leading the league in rushing, was the other first-teamer. What are your thoughts there?
I don't think he scored enough touchdowns. For Washington, I think Washington had a few more touchdowns. That was probably it. Honorable mention. West Virginia, Jared Barber, Shelton Gibson, Carl Joseph. That's great.
Yeah.
That was very nice. Nick Kwiatkowski, Josh Lambert, Noble Wachiku, highly undervalued. If you could buy the Wachiku stock, like if they had it on the stock exchange, like symbol NWA or NOB, I'd be buying me some Noble Wachiku
penny
for next
stock
year.
now that's going up.
I'd load up on it. And Elijah Wellman. How about that?
Good for him.
You know, that's really significant, folks. Seriously. Elijah Wellman did not carry the ball 20 times this year.
No.
Did not carry it 20 times this year. But you know what he does? He does things that fans don't recognize. But coaches go, ugh.
Yeah.
Football people watch Elijah Wellman play, and when he lines up as a lead blocker and he deals punishment, I mean, he blows people up. You really should go back. If you're a person that tapes Mountaineer games and you save them, and your wife always goes, can we get this off the DVR? And you go, no, still leave it on there.
Yeah.
Leave it on there. Do something with it for real. Go in there and take a look at a few Elijah Wellman plays when he comes out in that power pistol and he goes off and gets a linebacker.
Talked about him a lot this year. His lead blocking ability, you know, and it's not just what I saw, but I remember talking to Wendell Smallwood a month ago. Said, what's your favorite play? He said, anything where Eli Wellman is leading me. He said, he's the guy. So it doesn't matter what the play is, as long as Elijah Wellman is the lead blocker for him.
He'll line up, hit you right in the face. That's what he'll do. That's what he'll do, and that'll hurt sometimes. All right, we're out. Hey, guess what? High School Sportsline is coming up next on many of these same stations at 7:06. If not on your radio, then on our website at WVMetronews.com. Special thanks to our radio producer, J.R. Falls, our video producer. And by the way, you can watch our show every night on video at WVMetronews.com. Her name is Deborah Martinelli. So we're out. High School Sportsline next, 7:06. See you.